Senator Persons-Mullica has waived closed. The question now recurs on final passage of HB 1D. The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will proceed to vote. Have all members voted? Have all members voted? The clerk will lock the machine and announce the vote.
83 yeas, 28 nays, Mr. Speaker.
Show the bill passes. Read the next bill.
None on the desk, Mr. Speaker.
Today's decision by this illegitimate Supreme Court majority strikes a blow against the Voting Rights Act and is designed to undermine the ability of communities of color all across this country to elect their candidate of choice. But we're not here to step back, we're here to fight back.
Yes.
Now, when this decision came out earlier today, it's an unacceptable decision, but not an unexpected decision. Because this isn't even really the Roberts Court. It's the Trump Court.
Yes.
And what we would expect from the Trump Court is an effort to continue their scheme to suppress the vote and rig the midterm elections and beyond. Because these extremists have failed America in every possible way. They failed on the economy. They failed on health care. They're failing as it relates to this reckless and costly war of choice. The extremists have completely and totally failed America.
That's right.
So they've concluded, aided and abetted by the Trump court, that they have to cheat to win.
Yes.
In the new Congress, we're going to have to do something about this Supreme Court. And let me be very clear. Everything is on the table. Everything to deal with this corrupt MAGA majority that is issuing political opinions that are designed to bolster the prospects of the Republican Party, and we will not allow them to succeed.
Heard my dogs there in the background. They agree. Leader Jeffries, thanks as always. Appreciate you.
Welcome, guys. That was the recap of what we covered this afternoon. Intergalactic Wranglers, great to see you in the chat. Hello. If you're watching right now, please post a comment in the chat. Let's know where you're watching from. And if you have a drink, let's know what you're drinking. I have my herbal tea as per usual. So, we have Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats melting down. We're going to be covering more of that. But before we move forward on their insanity, here's President Trump. Okay, he erupts on Timu Obama, Hakeem Jeffries, calling the Supreme Court illegitimate. I had some words to say about that this afternoon because the Supreme Court ended racial gerrymandering. And let's hear it from President Trump himself. And you guys let me know what you think in the chat.
I heard Hakeem Jeffries, a low IQ person, he's a very low IQ, screaming today that the Supreme Court is illegitimate. I mean, that's a dangerous statement. Then if I say something modest, they say, oh, he's a king, he's a king. They're sick. But Hakeem Jeffries said the Supreme Court is illegitimate. That's a rough statement. If I made that statement, it would be the biggest story out there. Bad things would happen.
One of the ideas.
Yeah, and Trump is correct. Okay, we just got off the attack on his cabinet at the White House Correspondents' Dinner over the weekend, and we still have Democrats saying these things that trigger mentally unstable people who feed on CNN and TDSBC. Okay, their brains have been addled by TDS, and the Democrats know this, and they continue to use these trigger words whenever they talk about the Trump administration. Now, guys, you have Democrats like this guy, okay, Raphael Warnock. giving AOC a run for her money on saying stupid stuff. Okay, so let's listen to this. These are the kinds of ignorant people that the Democrats have essentially propped up with their let's just say fake elections. Oh my goodness, what happened? Let's see. You said no audio. All right. Is anyone else struggling with audio? Intergalactic Wrangler says that there's no audio. I'm going to play it again, and then you let me know if that's still happening. Okay, you can hear me but not hear the video. Is that what's going on? Because I need to know what's going on. Okay, I'm going to play the video one more time. All right. So can you hear the video? I just need to know. Okay, guys, I don't want to leave you guys behind. All right. Intergalactic Wrangler, you said yes. Is it yes to the video? Give me a thumbs up if it's a yes to the video. Okay, so I just need to be sure that it's working. Cannot hear the video. Okay, that is weird. All right, I'm going to restart this. I'm going to restart the share and then see if it works this time. All right, so well, I want to assume. So does it mean that you didn't hear the first video with Trump? All right, I need to know if the video with Trump didn't play, then I can go back and play that video so you can hear what he said. So did you hear Trump or you didn't hear Trump at all? I just need to know. All right, guys, if you're joining, we're just trying to fix the audio issue that Intergalactic Wrangler caught. We just want to be sure that you guys don't miss out on the stories. You heard the first video. Okay, so we're gonna go on to sharing this one. Okay, good. All right, 1 second, guys. 1 second. I just want to be sure everything is as it should be. All right, so let me know if it's working now.
Like inclusion and the foolhardiness of them deciding.
All right, so is it working now? Let me know if it's working now. I just played it and stopped so that I'm sure it's working. Video audio is working. Yes. Okay, I assume that's a yes. Okay, so let's get back to it. All right, so here's what he says about the Supreme Court decision.
They don't like inclusion and the foolhardiness of them deciding. First of all, no one elected this court to decide what kind of remedies we need in this moment. It's really not up to the Supreme Court to say, well, we have reached a threshold where this issue of race and inclusion is no longer necessary. That is.
So I started out saying that these are the kinds of ignorant. I don't want to call him names, okay, but it is this kind of conversation coming from people like him that miseducates the Democrat voting base, because you're going to hear many of them repeat these same lies. The Supreme Court was interpreting an existing law, and they simply said, you guys cannot gerrymander your states based on race. Because if you're going to gerrymander based on one race, you're going to disenfranchise other races. That is what they were standing on. And then Obama steps up. He was celebrating the gerrymandering that happened in Virginia just last week. And he steps out to say, oh, there's a problem. The sky is falling. Obama, started that domino, and then all of them fell in line. Hakeem Jeffries said what he said in the first video, and then you have this guy claiming that the Supreme Court was not elected to do the job that they just did. They essentially did their job, and that's the hypocritical thing about the Supreme Court. Not the Supreme Court, but about the Democrat Party. Whenever the Supreme Court rules in their favor, oh, the Supreme Court is the best thing since sliced bread. Oh, we need to go worship at their altar. And then when they say something that they don't like, oh, we need to pack the courts. They are illegitimate, like Hakeem Jeffries said. Let's keep listening.
Not the job of the court. And I'm struck, quite frankly, by the very easy and nonchalant way in which this extreme activist court knocks down precedent after precedent.
All right, so he's doing exactly what he heard his leadership do. He's saying what Hakeem Jeffries said. They're now calling the Supreme Court an activist court. Now, what does that mean when they do things like this? It means that they are giving a nod and a wink to their activist voter base to start harassing the Supreme Court. We saw it during the Biden years, where the Supreme Court literally had to be given 24-hour, 7 days a week double security because protesters were attacking them because they were of their ruling on Roe v. Wade. It is the Democrat way. And guys, let me know in the chat if I'm going too far by saying this is terrorism. It's terrorism. When you don't get your way, you try to make the people that didn't allow you to have your way feel unsafe. It's called terrorism. That's what Iran does. Hey, is it possible that that's the reason why they are so comfortable with supporting Iran? Do you think that's actually why they're so chummy with the idea of an Islamic regime that routinely murdered its own people? Okay, they're so happy with that regime, so much so that they would rather say that that regime is winning the war, that where they are getting their butts handed to them by the U.S. Army, the U.S. military, the greatest military on the planet. Like they would freely say that. And I think it has something to do with the fact that there's a kindred spirit between the Democrat Party and the IRGC. All right, so let's keep listening to this this actor.
The bar for doing it ought to be high, but we're seeing it with this court. Not whether it comes, whether we're talking about voting rights or whether we're talking about a woman's bodily autonomy.
Okay, so he goes back to Roe v. Wade. Okay, now these guys worship at the altar of insanity. They do, and I'm not saying it just to use big words to describe how much I don't like their policies, but it's essentially what they're doing. We're judging them based on their actions. The Supreme Court just ruled in favor of common sense because that is what the laws state. But what did they do instead? They decided that they were going to begin to verbally attack the Supreme Court's legitimacy and start calling the conservative judges on the Supreme Court activist judges. I don't know about you guys, all right, but seeing this happening just after what we saw just this weekend, what do you think? Do you think that this is the Democrat Party essentially pushing violence against the conservative members of the Supreme Court? They're using trigger words. They're calling them illegitimate. They're calling them activists. It is, I talk to people who are on the left regularly, not as regularly as I would be comfortable with doing, but I speak with them occasionally, and they always they talk about dog whistling. okay, using words that's a dog whistle when they try to accuse Trump of being racist, and using terms that are dog whistles to racists to attack Black people. And I find that, astonishing, because I'm talking to college educated people. And I haven't I haven't heard more stupid sounding college educated people than I have with people who support the policies of the Democrat Party. Intergalactic Wrangler dropped a message and says it's anti-American to hate other parties and to make up a bunch of word salads that sound like something and mean nothing, and make unfounded accusations. I agree with you. Okay. Now, if you're watching and you want to add to the conversation, please feel free. Now, we're going to skip on over to our darlings in mainstream media. Now, here's a compilation, and I hope that sorry, I'm just trying to make sure. I'm trying to make sure that the audio stays good. Okay, so Democrats are petrified of people seeing their fear, and they're unable to hide it now. So here's Democrats leaning mainstream media reacting after the ruling of the Supreme Court, and I hope this comes through. So let me know if this plays properly so I don't leave you guys behind. All right, Intergalactic Wrangler, did you say that the video is off? Do you mean the video that I'm playing, or my video? I just want to be sure. You said audio on, video off. So what do you mean? Do you mean my video is off, or the video that I'm supposed to be playing? Just want to be sure. All right. Now, guys, do you know what? Like, I find this to be, for me, fun, because I get to talk to you guys and you guys talk back to me. Okay. This is the video I'm playing is off. I can hear you. Okay. So let me see if this can zoom in some more. I'm hoping it can. Can it? Can it? All right. All right. So hold on. I just want to be sure it's playing. Okay. So I just expanded the video. Could you let me know if it's up on the screen now? Because I can see it on the screen on the preview. So let me know if it's up on the screen now. I just want to be sure it's doing what it should do. Okay. I can see it up on the screen on both previews on YouTube Studio. So, all right, it's on the screen. Beautiful. All right, so let's go for it. All right, here we go again. Okay, so hold on. I'm gonna do this. Yeah, so I'm trying to work on controlling everything from two screens. So maybe that's messing with the video. So let's try this All right, so let me know if audio and video are playing at the same time. I think we're going to have that problem solved from now on. So let me know if it's good.
An additional majority minority district. So instead of striking down what remains of the Voting Rights Act, Section 2, and its protections for multiracial democracy and districting, the Supreme Court has adopted an exceptionally narrow and cramped reading of Section 2, one that will essentially almost never require states to draw additional majority minority districts. What the court effectively said is, so long as the plaintiffs who were challenging these maps that states draw can't identify an alternative map that would both provide an additional majority minority district and retain the same partisan composition as the state's initial map, then the state often isn't going to be required to draw that second district. The reality, however, is that there is racial polarization in voting. So race and party are inextricably linked. And what that means is it's almost never going to be possible for plaintiffs to show that a state can draw an additional majority minority district, but that additional majority minority district will still vote Republican in the way that the previous district would have.
So what she's trying to say with so many words is the Supreme Court isn't allowing us to cheat by redistricting based on race. That's what she's saying. The party that claims that they are not racist, the party that claims that they are against anything racist, are the ones that are pushing racist policies. Everything she just said is, to sum it up in just a few words, we want to be able to draw congressional maps based on race. Now, here's the thing that a lot of people miss when they use these word salads. Okay. Right now, they are pandering to Black people. It's very similar to what happens in Africa. You pander to one tribe, and then you push the pandering to a point where you disenfranchise a bunch of other tribes. Now, what happens in third world countries is the politicians or the people in power tend to pander to the major tribes. Those are the major voting blocs. Everybody else can go to hell. So in a country like my country of origin, you have 3 major tribes and another 15 to 25 other sub-tribes. And the 3 major tribes are the ones who call the shots in the country. Now, among the 3 major tribes, there's one tribe that essentially gets the short end of the stick every single time. So among the 3 major tribes, there's always one that gets cheated out of the arrangements. Now, that's what the Democrat Party is trying to bring into the United States. They're trying to bring this arrangement where you have the African American, or let's say the Black people who are like, okay, hey, we want to gerrymander these congressional lines so that we cater to you. The Black people say, yay, thank you for gerrymandering and catering to us. The Black people drive the agenda, and then whenever it suits the Democrat Party, they gerrymander the maps to suit the new majority that they just opened the border to let into the country, therefore handing the Black people the short end of the stick. I can read where this is going. The Black people who are like this guy we just listened to, he doesn't know what's coming. He doesn't know what's coming because he's lived in the United States all his life. He doesn't know what it's like to live anywhere else. The Democrat Party is bringing in a bunch of dangerous policies, and they're trying to sell it to the American people like, oh, we're trying to be, fair. We're trying to be fair. Simply laying out the districts as is fair. Simply letting the districts evolve over time. If eventually the districts have more black people born in the districts over the years, the voting patterns will change on their own. The Democrat Party is essentially trying to do for politics what the communists have been trying to do for the economy, essentially try to engineer change based on their own agendas. I don't know if I'm talking, I don't know if you guys understand what I'm saying, because sometimes I see these things and I'm just trying to explain in a way that that you can see what I'm seeing. Intergalactic Wrangler is having a laugh. Okay, so yeah, so let's just hear her out. She's gonna say more sweet nothings to us because all she's just whining about is we can't cheat anymore. And the Democrats know how to say one thing with so many words until you can't even figure out what they're trying to say.
That's why Justice Kagan, in dissent, is writing for the Democratic appointees and calls this ruling one that renders what remains of the Voting Rights Act a nullity. She situates this latest ruling in a trilogy of cases that the Supreme has issued dismantling the Voting Rights Act. She says, look, back in 2013 in Shelby County versus Holder, the court effectively nullified what was a preclearance regime, which required certain states with especially egregious histories of voting discrimination to get the federal government's permission before changing the voting laws or policies. Then, in a later decision, Brnovich versus DNC, the Supreme Court effectively made it almost impossible to challenge what are called voting preconditions, rules that affect who can vote, like voter identification requirement. And since that decision in Brnovich, there have been zero successful Section 2 challenges to voting conditions. The decision today in Louisiana versus Calais completes the set because it effectively dismantles the last leg in the Voting Rights Act's protections, which was for redistricting. Whereas previously, the Voting Rights Act had said, when a state draws districts in ways that have the effect of diluting the voting power of racial minorities, of effectively making it so racial minorities' votes count for less than white voters and that they can never elect candidates of their choice. Now, the Supreme Court has said, go ahead, state legislatures, draw districts, maybe even redraw districts in ways that lock voters of color out of power. That is to undo the Voting Rights Act and what it did for this country, namely make it into a multiracial.
Yeah, look, if you don't know any better, you think she's making sense. If you don't know any better, you think like, oh, she's looking out for the little guy. Look, for the Democrats, it's all about power. And now that the Supreme Court has told them, look, you can't break civil rights laws. Like, what they're essentially trying to do is reverse racism. They're trying to do what the Jim Crow South did to black districts in the 50s and 60s, redrawing the districts in order to essentially keep the black voters out of power, keep them from influencing elections. Why? Because most of the black people were Republicans. Black people were originally Republicans. And so this entire spiel that she's made, essentially, you would buy it if you haven't been following history. Intergalactic Wrangler says they got caught cheating. Now they're trying to flip the script. Look, the sad thing, Intergalactic Wrangler, is that there's a bunch of people out there that will buy her spiel. She's looking hurt. She's looking distressed. There's all this talk about black and minorities getting disenfranchised and them not being able to essentially vote the way they want to vote. That white districts are going to keep black people out of power. It's just sad and depressing to watch the Democrat Party lie to the American people, and then have a bunch of them believe it. And you have educated Black people like Sonny Hostin. Sonny Hostin is a Black lawyer. Now, she's probably the most educated person on The View, but she sounds as retarded as everybody else on The View. So I don't put much stock in college education anymore if they can produce people that think and sound like Sonny Hostin. So here she is, devastated and near tears over SCOTUS ending race-based congressional districts. All right. Now, and again, please tell me if the audio is coming through. I hope it's coming through. Oh, come on. I'm sorry. I hate it, and I mean it. I hate it when somebody can't make an argument. No audio on the video again. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do this all over again. Oh, geez. You know, this afternoon, okay, unless the people who watched weren't talking to me and letting me know that that something was off with the video, unless that was what happened, but I didn't have this happening this afternoon. So maybe it was just that they weren't talking to me and they were just enjoying my voice. All right, so let's hit play.
My father was born in 1949.
All right, so I'm going to play her whining, and she's loading up the tape. She's ginning up the tears. So let's just follow her.
Alito argued that the vast social change has occurred throughout the country, and particularly in the South, indicating that racism no longer exists in this country. I can tell you, as a Black woman, that my father...
So that's where I lost it and screamed. I hate it when people start this whole thing as a Black woman, as a Black man, as a this, as a that. Talk as a human being with a brain. Speak like a human being with a brain. And try to consider the different angles. She's essentially going to she's towing the Democrat Party line. And she's going to say how her father experienced, racism and so on. Guys, she's a multi-millionaire. She's a multi-millionaire of color. If America was so horrible, she and Whoopi Goldberg will be mopping floors. If America was so horrible. So it's insane to watch them feign this, oh, there's so much racism. People are struggling and they are living in their $1 million mansions. It's so irritating and gross.
Born in 1949. He remembers segregated schools. He remembers...
That was in 1949. And did he remember when the Democrat Party was gerrymandering Black Republican districts so that they could not vote Republican? This is the dishonesty that drives me up the wall.
For segregated water fountains. He remembers that he did not have full civil rights. And he told me when I turned 40 years old that I was the first person in his family to enjoy full civil rights. And he is still alive today, and I am still alive today, and I have been discriminated against. And now I have to tell my children.
Oh, you've been so discriminated against that you're a millionaire. Got it. If that's the kind of discrimination that you're experiencing, I guess I would like that. I would like the same discrimination too. So I can have $1 million mansion, $1 million contracts, okay, because I'm being discriminated against. Oh my God. I'll just play this video and then read your chat. Okay. So send your chat and your thoughts about this.
That they have less civil rights than I did when I was born.
That's true.
That is disgusting, despicable, and I am devastated by this particular Supreme Court.
Do you know that what she says has finally put the pieces together? This is why the children of many of these black celebrities who believe this nonsense are so screwed up, because they believe that the world is against them. Their parents have essentially indoctrinated them into a mental health catastrophe.
Decision, even though Whoopi, we did know this was coming.
What about, wait a second, what about Clarence Thomas? Didn't he stick up for his own?
No, he did. He did not.
He did not.
No. And he is part of the majority here.
Yeah.
This has repercussions.
So these race baiting, the Democrat Party is just full of racists. Okay, so let's just call it as it is. Intergalactic Wrangler says, I keep seeing Whoopi on Star Trek and it makes me mad. I used to love her. Look, I used to love Whoopi Goldberg. I loved seeing her on Ghost, though so many years ago. Like, I love seeing her on Ghost. I love seeing her on Sister Act 1 and 2. I loved, like, I enjoyed her work on Color Purple. Okay, that's a long time ago. There are a lot of actors that should have just stayed with acting and just kept their mouths shut, but they had to open their mouth because they had Facebook and Twitter, and so we got to know what they were thinking, because actors essentially have to read somebody else's words. You know, they have to read somebody else's words. They don't have they don't have they don't have their own words. Okay, they don't have their own words. They have to essentially read someone else's lines. And so when you give them the opportunity to actually use their own words, okay, it's crazy what comes out. Lenell Marshall says, please get rid of horrible, evil, hateful woman Sonny. Well, we have to look at them. Look, every time I watch The View, okay, I have to exercise a lot of perseverance. I have to say, look, I have to listen to what they are saying, because guys, we need to hear what they're saying. We need to try to process what they're saying and say, okay, are they correct in what they're thinking, in what they're saying? And then come to a conclusion to say, okay, all they've said is just a whole lot of BS. Whoopi Goldberg wants us to believe that she's oppressed and that she's being discriminated against, and she picks up $1 million check every other year. Well, I don't know what her contract is for The View, but it isn't $100,000 a year like most people have to deal with. Okay. Intergalactic Wrangler says, yes, amazing. She should have stuck to acting. I don't know what happened to her. Well, guys, you know, look, I love these guys, okay? Like they're people like you and me. Okay, so I'm gonna be shutting off I'll close the video and then open it up again so we don't have the same issues. Now, one of the claims that the Democrats are making is this. They're claiming that with the redistricting, that we wouldn't have any more Black representatives on Capitol Hill. And Representative Wesley Hunt is being challenged on that. And here's what he has to say about that. So I'm just going to play his video. So guys, while we're here, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing the video. That's a lot to do, but you know, it helps you stay connected with us. Hit the bell icon so that whenever we go live, you get notified and then you can hop on the live stream. Now, for those of you who are watching, why am I doing a lot of talking to the chat? Because the live stream is essentially us connecting and having a conversation over some of these news stories. So I will always take a pause to have a conversation with you. So please feel free to share your thoughts in the chat. I would love to talk with you and know what you think about these videos that we're watching. Now, here's Wesley.
There's been a lot of talk about there won't be any black Republican members in the new term.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Nothing. I don't understand how that's relevant.
Is there a problem with recruitment?
I don't think it's a problem with anything. I'm not here because I'm black. I am here because I'm qualified representative for Congressional District 38, and the American people choose who they want to choose. Yeah. And the one thing I don't want to get into is this game of race bait all day, every day. If there's 4, if there's 10, if there's none, what we are talking about is who is the best person that is best qualified to fill a seat, regardless of the way that they look. And I tell people this all the time till I'm blue in the face. I represent a white majority district that President Trump would have won by over 20 points, and I won by 25 points the last time I ran. I'm being judged not by the color of my skin, but by the content of my character. I don't care how many black people are here. I want the most qualified people that are here.
So he's representing a white majority district. Now, if you listen to Sonny Hostin and her friends on The View, and you listen to Hakeem Jeffries, and I don't know who the other guy we listened to earlier is, he's so forgettable, but it is distressing that he's a senator thinking and talking that way. If you listen to these guys, Wesley Hunt should not be representing his district because he comes from a white majority district. It is crazy that we're still talking about things like this in 2026. But why is it that we're talking about stuff like this in 2026? Is because the Democrats won't let race go. That's the only way they can win, as long as they can pitch American against American. That's the only way they can win, because their policies are so crazy that no one would vote for them. So they have to addle your brain so much with racism and fear that you just have to vote for them. That's the only reason. That's the only reason. It makes no sense. Intergalactic Wrangler says, qualified person, black, white, yellow, brown, green, as long as you can do the job well. Third world countries get destroyed because their politics is basically identity politics. It is, which tribe did you come from? Whose turn is it to rule now? I think, look, Americans, okay, are too busy paying their mortgage. They're too busy trying to get groceries and survive. And so me saying, okay, guys, try to study other countries, try to study third world countries and figure out what's going on in those countries, how the people run their elections, and how do they choose their leaders, and how come they're not as successful as the United States. At the root of the reason why the third world is the third world is tribalism. Tribalism is at the root of it. You don't believe me? Do your research. You will find that in most third world countries, you have factions. You don't have nation. You don't have a country that is filled with people with an overarching vision. You have different tribes tussling for power. And the moment one tribe gains power, they begin to oppress the other tribes. Those countries are in a constant state of malcontent. Tribes are always figuring out ways to undercut the other tribe in order to get one up over the other tribe. They are too busy fighting each other to build their countries. How do I know? I lived in one for over 40 years. So when we talk about these things, I get genuinely angry when I watch Democrats do this in the United States, because I know how it ends. You're going to become a third world country so fast, it will make your head spin. Look at what's going on in California. California is essentially a third world country. It is. Look at the way the city is run. It's not about what's good for the state. It's not what's good for everyone who lives in Los Angeles. No, it's about what's good for the optics. Different tribes wanting one thing or the other, to the point where the state is so ripped to shreds that it can't function. They've been trying to build a high-speed rail for how many years now? Haven't been successful at doing it. Rampant corruption because different tribes want a piece of the pie. That's a third world country, guys. And that's what the Democrats want to do at scale for the whole country. It's crazy that anyone would want that. Now, I'm going to take a look at what the polls are saying, because while the Democrats are claiming that, oh, it's so horrible, the Trump administration is trying to essentially disenfranchise Black people from gaining any power anywhere. Oh God, oh my, everything is so doom and gloom. So here's what CNN says. CNN admits, it's going to show up on the screen shortly. CNN admits President Trump is gaining ground with Black voters. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed? All right, so let's listen to this. The Democrats want us to believe that that Black people don't want to vote for Trump because Trump is racist. Trump has always been racist, and so. But he's gaining ground with Black people. Why is it? Because many Black people are waking up. Many of them are waking up. Black people are really intelligent when they want to be. Okay, I can say that because I'm Black. If Intergalactic Wrangler said that, I'm sure that some people would look at him crossways. But I can say it because I'm Black, because I live with Black people. I've lived with them for over 40 years. Okay, now let's see. Intergalactic Wrangler says so much fraud in California, it's unbelievable. It's crazy, okay, that Dick Shirley goes out to California, uncovers massive fraud, and guess what the state representatives do? Do they say, oh, thank you, sir, for uncovering the fraud. We'll take it from here and deal with it. Oh my, oh my. How come we missed it? Is that what they did? Oh no. They decided that they were going to institute the Stop Nick Shirley Act. That is corruption that is the final form of corruption, okay, where the government begins to create laws to protect itself from citizens finding out the corruption, and makes it illegal for citizens to even look in on the corruption of the government. California is essentially a communist country right now. It is. It is. They're inching very close to the point where it's like, okay, we're going to have to round up all of the conservatives and give them special chips so that we can track them. Like it's almost getting there, because it's astounding how crazy this is. In the United States of America, someone discovers a crime, reports it, it becomes public, and instead of the state to say, okay, we're going to fix it, they write a law to essentially attack the person and people like him who will be coming up with uncovering fraud in the state. It's insane to me. All right, so here's CNN talking about the favorability of Trump.
President Trump and the Republican Party are chipping away at a long-term advantage that Democrats have had with black voters, with African Americans. You can see it right here. Look, Trump's approval among African Americans at this point in term one, he was at 12%. He's been losing ground with a lot of people. He's gaining ground with African Americans. He's up to 16% at this point. And you say, this isn't that big of a shift. But I will tell you, Republicans absolutely love this shift that's going on, because Democrats have had such a long-term advantage. The fact that he's actually gaining ground versus where he was in term number one. This has major implications for elections down the line because Democrats, especially in a lot of these tight races, you talk about places like Georgia, right down in the South, you see this type of movement for Trump actually gaining ground. This could have major ramifications and help put Republicans over the top in a number of southern places in the midterm elections.
But do you see this as part of a bigger trend?
I see this as absolutely part of a bigger trend. Donald Trump's Republican Party is absolutely gaining ground, not just him gaining in terms of his approval rating, but look at the party ID margin, Kate, because this to me was absolutely stunning. Look at this party ID margin among African Americans. At this point in Trump term number one, Democrats had a 63-point advantage. That is absolutely fallen. Look at where it is now. A double-digit shift away. Democrats, of course, still have the advantage, but it's a 12-point shift to the Republican Party. And I look back through Gallup's records. They sent me their records. And this, in fact, lead that Democrats have is actually smaller than any lead from 2006 to 2021. So Democrats are leading. But again, we're talking about chipping away. Republicans are chipping away at this long-term advantage that Democrats have had among African Americans. We see it in terms of Trump's approval rating, and we even see it to a wider degree among the party ID margin, where all of a sudden there are a number of African Americans who are walking away from the Democratic Party, and a number of them who are walking into the Republican tent.
Yeah, and I saw a video earlier today. I didn't watch it, but I saw the title and description. It essentially says that millions of people are leaving the Democrat Party. I think that the mask on the Democrat Party has essentially been so eroded that people are seeing what they really are. They're seeing them for who they really are. Calls for violence, denying that fraud is happening, only to turn around and attempt to claim credit for the fraud that was uncovered by someone else. So Intergalactic Wrangler just talked about it. Now Tim Walz is trying to take credit for finding the fraud in Minnesota. I can't even process it. Tim is so unquote. Look, I'm glad Intergalactic Wrangler is here. You were here when we were screaming about the fraud in Minnesota last year. We were screaming about it. And Tim Walz came up and said that that the discovery or uncovering fraud was white supremacy. Like, I couldn't believe my ears when I heard it. I had to play the video several times. Like, what on earth did I just hear? And do you know what? He claimed that there was no fraud. He claimed that they were on top of it, that there was no fraud, that Nick Shirley was making it up, that he was only going out there to try to sniff out children because he was a pervert. And then now that the federal government has taken the ball and has begun the raids in Minnesota, they were the ones who found the fraud. How did he go from there is no fraud to, now we're the ones who found the fraud, now trying to take credit for it? Okay. So I think a lot of people are seeing the hypocrisy. The lies have gotten just, too much. The lies have gotten way too much that it is almost impossible to ignore. All right. Now, let me know your thoughts, okay, on the reaction of the Democrat Party to what has gone on with the redistricting and the gerrymandering. We could do a deep dive into even looking at the gerrymandering of these blue states. Like, when you hear the woman from TDSBC trying to justify the gerrymandering of the Democrat Party, and then you look at the actual district lines that the Democrat Party has gerrymandered, you can see how much they're trying to essentially twist the state towards being a Democrat-only run state. Look at a state like, I think it was Maine. Was it Maine? That essentially has only one Republican representative out of, I think, 15 or so. It's an insane margin. That's what Democrat gerrymandering does. And they want to sound like they're the virtuous ones trying to hand democracy to the struggling black people out there. They talk about, look, I'm just tired of the hypocrisy. But you know what? We just have to keep talking about it. We have to keep talking about it until we're blue in the face. Because you know what? These people are activated. They are activated. They are not going to stop. They are going to keep doing this until, like, they want to outlast us. They want to outlast us. They're like, we're going to have a 50-year plan, a 100-year plan, and we're going to execute on it. While Republicans are too busy chasing down presidential elections, these people are taking over institutions. They're taking over the court system. Okay, the lady from TDSBC said, "Oh well, there was a court ruling that said that what the people in Louisiana did was legitimate." And it's like, yeah, a court ruling that from an activist judge. So they're trying to make it sound like the ruling had zero foul play. It's really disturbing, okay, that we're watching this and they're saying it to you and me with a straight face. It's weird. All right, now, there's this story that came up. I don't know if I want to dive into that story. I want that. Okay, so it's a quick story. All right. Let me switch over to that video. That means I'm going to have to do this again. All right. So Joe Biden is in the news again. All right. The Biden-Harris email exposed using Benghazi as a secret code word to funnel $90 million to Planned Parenthood. $90 million, guys. Okay, so let's listen to the story and see if there's any sense to this insanity.
Also, just COVID-era loans to Planned Parenthood were discussed under a code word, Benghazi. Small Business Committee Chair Joni Ernst says the label may have been used to evade oversight. What's happening here? Alexandria Hoff is live from D.C. Hi, Alex.
Right, and a lot happening here. Senator Ernst has called on the Justice Department to investigate whether this code word was intended to illegally obscure communications regarding about $90 million in PPP loans. Planned Parenthood was prohibited from receiving the Paycheck Protection Funds during COVID because they're a national federation and not a small business. Well, in 2021, Senator Ernst and colleagues started to press the Biden administration on why the abortion provider was initially allowed to receive tens of millions of dollars. At that point, her office says communications regarding loan decisions began popping up with Benghazi as the subject line. That's a key word that would have rendered the correspondence effectively unsearchable, according to Ernst.
Benghazi. What does that have to do with small business? Benghazi. Blatant use of a code word to conceal not only from those of us that are charged with oversight, but from the American people should they ever request information on Planned Parenthood and how they received those loans.
Yeah, the term Benghazi would have lumped any document into the trove of records related to the deadly 2012 attack in Libya. Dana.
Wow, what a code word, too.
Right,
Thank you.
right.
Hey, let's squeeze this in.
All right, so essentially a shocker, the Biden administration was committing fraud by trying to hide over 90 billion. I'm sorry, I just need to be sure that I read that right. Okay, $90 million to Planned Parenthood to murder more unborn babies. So it's crazy, on the altar of murdering unborn babies. So stuff like this is going to keep coming up. And you know what do you think should happen when fraud like this is uncovered? All right. Now we're seeing that the Democrat Party essentially is a party that hates it when fraud is uncovered. We saw them freak out and foam at the mouth when they were discovered funneling money through USAID. and they shamelessly had those rallies where they claimed that Elon Musk was coming to steal people's social security numbers. Do you know that it feels like that was 5 years ago? So much has happened within the last year of Trump's second term, and it's just crazy that we still have, about less than 3 years left to go, and there's more yet to happen. Okay, now guys, subscribe, like, share if you like the content that we've been putting out. If you're new here, I need you to let me know in the chat that, hey, I'm new here, and please consider subscribing to the channel, and support the channel. Okay, we need donations through super chats or through your memberships to keep this going. Now, I put up a goal on the in the chat, and the goal has not been reached. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to just end the live stream at the 1 hour mark. It's 1 a.m. here, and I'm sure that is midnight on the East Coast, and progressively, if you're, no matter what, I don't know where you're watching from, let me know where you're watching from, but it's getting late. So what I set up as a goal was this: if you want us to go for another hour, okay, give a certain level, of super chats. I don't see that, and it's not a must. It's just a way to kind of inspire people to essentially say, hey, I know it's late, but we need to keep going. So we're just gonna be ending it here. I have other stories, okay, and maybe we'll pick them up tomorrow, and then we can talk about them. But the most important thing is that we got to talk. Intergalactic Wrangler, I want to appreciate you for pointing out the issue with the audios. Let's see. Yeah, okay, I am seeing your message. You're heading Pennsylvania, big day tomorrow. Okay, so guys, thank you so much for hanging out. I do appreciate it. I love you guys, and I hope that we can hang out again tomorrow night. Okay, so my Sabbath, I said I was going to announce when my Sabbath will be. For those of you who've been following, I was thinking I was going to be live streaming every day. My wife says, hey, you need to take one day off, and I've chosen Saturday night. Okay, so the Saturday leading into Sunday, I'm going to take that day off. So I guess that's my Sabbath. Okay, so we're going to be live tomorrow. Then the next live stream after that, I'll announce it, and of course I'll post community posts and everything. But hey guys, thank you so much for being a part of it. Is gardening LSB on the live stream? Because hey, I'm going to follow up on you to make sure that you're good. Okay, so I need to know if you're on the live stream. Intergalactic Wrangler, thank you so much for hanging out as per usual. It's been a while since I caught you on the live stream. I'm sure that things have been busy. And then first time chatter, Lionel Marshall. I don't know if you're still on the live, but let me know if you're still on the live, because I appreciate the chat. It's one thing to join the live stream for the first time. It's another thing to just be bold and to put out your thoughts out there and have a conversation. So I appreciate that. So before we say goodnight, I really want to know if you guys are on. Gardening LSB and Lionel, if you're here, just want to say thank you for hanging out. I like to acknowledge my people before we go. Well, so we're going to be calling it a night. Thank you all so much, and I appreciate it, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.